I'm just telling you how much I like and respect Keith Law. And there are many times I do not agree with him. Not that he cares, nor should he. But it doesn't change my respect for him because he's got a lot of great information, and I know he works really hard at this. All right, he just put out his top 50 free agent list. And the first 4 of them are shortstops. Carlos Correa, number 1. Trey Turner, number 2. Dansby Swanson, number 3. Aaron Judge, number 4. Another shortstop, Xander Bogaerts, 5th. And then number 6, Wilson Contreras. And it's just a long paragraph, and I'll read it. And I know Keith wouldn't mind because I'm promoting his work. People should go to The Athletic and become a subscriber, and you get access to all this stuff. Keith Law writes, quote, Contreras is the only surefire everyday catcher available as a free agent this winter, considering both performance and durability. Only JT Realmuto has caught more games since the start of 2018 when Contreras became a regular. He's an athletic catcher with a strong arm, but is a below-average framer and always has been, which is still sort of a thing in the short term, although we can always hope for change. At the plate, he makes extremely hard contact with a very aggressive approach that brings a lot of swing and miss, even in the zone in the upper third, along with the propensity to chase down and away. His on-base percentages have stayed above average thanks to his apparent desire to stand in the way of pitches. He had 24 hit by pitches in 2022, which somehow did not lead the league. And he has more than one on average, more than one hit by pitch every 10 games in his career. So Law says, I guess we could call this a skill at this point. Hey, I'll take it. He said, quote, there may be some teams scared off by the framing, but Contreras provides plenty of value with his bat and even his arm. And it is a big drop-off from him to the next best catcher in this free agent class. So that gives us something to think about.
Here's the one thing, too, that when, like, in the previous segment we were talking about, he doesn't, necessarily do the homework as much. And I think sometimes also, Bernie, we're always trying to go, he's not JT Realmuto. No kidding. There's only one of those guys out there. So I think sometimes we not you or me, but just when people are trying to evaluate, he can't do this and he can't do that. And I was like, okay, he's not GT. There's only one of those guys, and you're not getting them. So let's see what we have that's available for the Cardinals. And, if Murphy's going to be traded, go knock on that door. But if it's not Murphy and somebody in Realmuto's not available, I think this is your best option. And he's not Yachty, and he's not this guy. He's who he is. And if you want him to work and be a little more cognizant of what's going on in the scouting report, that's kind of on your thing. If you're on the staff, they go, hey, here's the numbers. Let's go over this. Let's make sure you understand this a little more. Let's focus on that. That's where I understand where people say this shortcoming to that shortcoming, but some of these are fixable or can be improved by just an organization that does a better job of communicating. So I wouldn't, if they came tomorrow and said, there he is, I'd go, okay, good. Nice job. Let's go to war with that. And let's also supplement elsewhere too. This better not be the only thing they do, but I wouldn't have a problem with it.
And his chat today, I think today he had an online chat. I don't know if it's still going on or not. Keith Law at The Athletic for subscribers. And during the break, I was looking through there to see if he had anything to add about the people are asking him about the Cardinals or this or that. And I didn't get very far into it, but he was asked by a Cardinals fan about, don't you definitely think they're going to go after a catcher? And Keith Law said what they need to do is pursue a starting pitcher as the top priority. And I thought that was an interesting take. And by the way, I don't think he's out of bounds for going that way. And, I've been talking about this a lot. I don't think it's my feeling, and I could be wrong, that not enough people realize how far behind the times are the Cardinals in their starting pitching philosophy or their pitching philosophy.
Yeah.
And part of it is that, and I'm going to try to find something, and I don't want to fumble around on the air, but I would like to have a little bit of backup on this, because I know that I checked these things out during the season a few times, and I almost have it, so we're almost there. All right, the whole pitch to okay, first of all, we know that baseball now, like the really smart teams, most of them put a big premium on strikeouts. And it's not just your number one starter, it's not just the starters but not the bullpen. You need to have it up and down your staff. And I know you're not going to have an entire staff like that, but you could have some guys that just pitch from a different arm angle. They're tricky, they're hard to see, they're hard to measure up, and they don't throw hard, and they don't have a huge strikeout rate. There's all kinds of ways to get hitters out, but the Cardinals have gone too crazy on the pitch to contact thing because of their defense. And granted, their defense is outstanding. So it's not like there isn't merit to pitching with contact, because you do have a really good defense behind it, and your pitchers you have a pretty good, collectively have a pretty good ground ball rate. But Jim and I want to throw this at you. It's like, you and I have been around a while. How many times have we heard, whether it's the pitcher, it's the manager, it's the pitching coach, when they talk about, we got a ground ball staff, we have that for a reason, because we want we want to get quick outs. We want to get quick outs and have the pitchers go, have our guys use that defense to get off the mound. And, because when you strike guys out, you throw more pitches. Our idea is to get them off the mound as quick as possible, and then they can go more innings. They can pitch deeper into games. There's only one problem with that. That part isn't working. And I was looking at it this year. The Cardinals, okay, they're not awful in that area, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th. They're tied. They were tied for 8th in terms of like average innings per start. Mm-hmm. Now you say, well, 8th is pretty good, but it's really not, because they're tied with a bunch of teams that have the same exact number on that. So they're part of this. It sort of pushes them down into the middle. And they're not up there near 6 innings. They're like 5 and change. And so if this ground ball strategy is designed or preferred in large part because, hey, yeah, our guy's going to get them ground balls and they'll be back in the dugout. They probably give us extra innings because of this. But they're not. The Cardinals are like part of this big group in the middle. And I don't see any outward advantage there. You know who was number one in baseball this year as far as innings per start? Also, it's the same team that ranks second or third in strikeout percentage for their starters. That would be the Houston Astros. Yeah. They go deeper into games than anybody. They go 6 innings per start on average. They're not a big ground ball staff. They strike people out, man. So I think the Cardinals have talked themselves into something that really doesn't hold up all that great. If it's all about getting more innings out of your starters. The facts show that does not hold up under scrutiny. Oh, there's teams that are much worse, but if you're kind of middle of the pack or you're drifting middle of the pack, well, you're not achieving that objective that you speak about so frequently. And get them ground balls. Get those quick outs. Pitch deeper into games. I mean, I think Wainwright and Miklasz can do that. Wainwright, however, his ground ball rate really dropped this year. Miklasz is a big ground ball guy. So, yeah, that does work with some starters. But I'm talking about your entire rotation and your bullpen. I mean, the Cardinals, their bullpen was already lacking in a way that's almost laughable in terms of strikeouts. And then they went out and spent money on the usual guys that I always make fun of. And their strikeout rate, the bullpen this year, dropped even lower. It was worse than last year. And this year, the Cardinals bullpen ranked 27th in strikeout rate. So the Cardinals, to me, are just outdated. They're behind the times on their thinking on this. And, I give Ali Marmol credit because Ali Marmol has made that point. Well, he doesn't call them outdated. But Ali Marmol many, many times has referred to, we'd like to get more strikeout punch. We'd like to have more of that. He knows. He sees how the game's played. He doesn't want everybody to be a ground ball pitcher. He wants some heat. He wants some swing and miss, right?
Yeah. You have to have that. You can't have a bunch of ground ball pitchers and be successful. Here's the other thing.
Even with the defense.
Yeah, we got great. The Cardinals have great defense, and you know what? That plays with any type pitcher you got. But I'll say this. In terms of, the pitch count thing and all that, the numbers, guys are only going 5.5, 6 innings anyway. So let's get guys who can throw the same amount of pitches, but can strike some guys out because it's needed. It's required. If, it used to be, starters would come up and, they'd him and haw around and they'd be wild and they couldn't throw strikes. So they throw 90 pitches and they go to 5 innings. Well, the next thing is, let's get some, let's be a little more frugal. Let's stop throwing balls. Right now, the problem is guys this group pitch contact thing ain't working. You got to get some guys that throw strikes and can strike some guys out.
It's not working as well as it should be, and it's not working as well as Cardinals management would have us believe, right?
Yeah.
Let me give you another stat, and it's not, again, this is no fancy pants stuff. I just went to Fangraphs because I wanted to look this up. Major League Baseball, this is the entire pitching staff for each team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Including some guys that they got rid of during the game, but during the season. But all you can do is just look at their entire season, their whole season numbers. That's the best you can do. It's the fairest way to do it. The Cardinals had a swing. Their pitchers, again, all pitchers combined, had a swing and miss rate of 9.5%. That ranked 30th.
Oh.
And seeing how there's only 30 teams, I think that's last. 9.5%. Now, let's look at the top of the chain. And this has nothing to do with the postseason because I know some of these teams got kicked out early. Once again, I'm going to be the nag and remind you the postseason is an entirely separate season. And if anything, we see some good pitchers go get into the postseason and they're tired and they're worn out and they don't have good stuff. And, the Phillies with Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola are going through that now. But anyway, I digress. So here are the staffs, the top 6 in swinging strike rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta, better team than the Cardinals. Mm-hmm. Houston, better team than the Cardinals. The New York Mets, better team than the Cardinals. Tampa Bay, better team than the Cardinals. Although I don't know if they match their win total. Actually, that might be factually incorrect, but you know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
Tampa Bay's really, really good.
Yep.
Yankees, better record than the Cardinals. Dodgers, better record than the Cardinals. Then you got a couple of non-playoff teams in there. But if you go through it, obviously, of all the teams, 12, I believe, to make the playoffs this year, I mean, the Cardinals were not only the worst one in terms of getting people to swing and miss, they were last in the majors and way behind the other postseason teams. And I'm just wondering how is that good? How is that helping you exactly? How is that enabling you to go into the postseason and even in the regular season have that strikeout capability that can help you win games? Because with all the emphasis on home runs now, and it's been that way for a while, you better be able, and that's why Marmol talks about it, you better be able to have that swing and miss, swinging strikeout capability. Get the batters to miss. And you can exploit them if they're swinging for the fences. The ground balls are good. My point is just they're going too far with it. That's all. There's not enough balance. And I don't know how anybody would really disagree with that, with all due respect. Right?
Yeah, they got to find a way. That's the bottom line, and they got to have more middle reliever guys that can go in there and strike some guys out. And it can't be the hey, let's get that ground ball pitcher in here again, see if he can get out of this bases loaded jam with one out and keep us close in the game.
St. Louis Cardinals starting pitchers in 2022. Swing miss rate 8.4%, ranking 30th.
That's bad.
Right?
That's awful. It's amazing that they are a playoff team with a number like that. That may be the crazier side of it.
I mean, my goodness. And then their bullpen this year, 11.1% swing and miss. That's 24th. It's still awful, but at least it's not dead last, right?
But still, you would think that would be a non-playoff team. It doesn't work.
So when we talk about what should the Cardinals pursue, obviously a list would include, and people can rank them however they want. I'm just saying all these things that to me are legitimate. Catcher, starting pitcher or pitchers, a reliever that brings gas and heat, strikeouts, swing and miss. They need another guy like that. The Cardinals could use a shortstop, but I think that'll be a luxury to them. They won't see it that way. And it's going to be a very expensive purchase in free agency for that. They need outfield stability, and maybe that outfielder that they get via trade or free agency, although there's not many good things there in free agency, would give them a chance to have a guy who can split between maybe DH, playing corner outfield, even center field. And I don't have anyone in mind. I'm just talking about a prototype, what they need. So that would be the list. And any wherever people want to go with it and ranking it based on what they think, that's cool with me. But they're going to have to hit at least a few of these areas hard. They're just going to have to. And I don't see how they can continue to go through another season where they don't strike people out, they don't get swing and miss, and they're relying on the defense, which is a good thing, but they're also relying on batted ball luck because the ball's in play a lot. I mean a lot. And that's not always the best way to go. And one more thing before I shut up about this, although I think this is important stuff, because I think when you start talking about why they need to go get a starting pitcher with heat and can strike some people out. First of all, why don't you look at Houston's staff, How come they were able to find guys and develop them and the Cardinals aren't, right? Anyway, when the Cardinals threw strikes this year, the contact rate against them, the entire staff, the opposing hitters had an 86% 86% contact rate on strikes, which was the 7th highest in baseball. And then just the overall contact rate, all pitches, same deal. The Cardinals are like 7th highest. Ball's in play a lot, man. That's the point. The ball's really in play a lot.
Agreed. You mentioned the Houston staff. I saw something last night. Somebody put it out, and I don't remember where, but they mentioned Valdez, Jose Urquidy, Luis Garcia, and Christian Javier, who was pitching last night. None of those guys were in MLB Pipeline's top 100 prospects.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, there's your point. You gotta get them and develop them.
And the Astros signed all those guys. All of those guys combined, like signing bonuses, combined $80,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, but that's right. Every time the Astros win a game, it's, they're cheaters. Well, they were. They're also pretty much smarter than everybody else in terms of player procurement. Those names that you just mentioned and what a vital role that they play with the Astros.
Mm-hmm.
They spotted talent when no one else did, and they signed them for a really low price. I think that's pretty smart myself. And I'm not sure exactly how one would cheat in the international market, especially when that's really being policed very strictly by MLB. MLB has burned a few teams with punishments for flouting the rules a little bit. Anyway, I'm fascinated by this stuff. And listen, what I always do, it's like if somebody wants to have a difference of opinion, I'll tell you what you should base it on. First of all, you're not going to be able to transform it overnight. That's true. You're not going to be able to transform it in any single off season. It's got to be a progressive thing. It's got to be the progress that you measure over a couple, 3 off seasons. You know, they can't get from start to finish in one off season as far as adding strikeout power, but they got to get the process started. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing, and I'll close with this, the other thing is because they do get ground balls, even though they pitch up to contact and there's a lot of contact. The Cardinals, and we looked this up and I have it and I apologize, the Cardinals in 2022 had the second lowest home run rate allowed, just under 1 per 9 innings. Now, Busch Stadium has a lot to do with that. So if you look at it in terms of the road, where they're not as protected by the way the ball carries and the dimensions and everything else, when they're on the road, they do allow more home runs, and they're kind of towards the middle of the pack. So they would remember how they last season. You know, they were so mediocre on the road, really mediocre,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons is that their pitching isn't as protected on the road by stadiums, right? And therefore, it's tougher on their pitchers on the road because the ball is in play a lot because they don't have enough swing and miss. And the ball is traveling in the air when it does, I should say. It's going over the wall more often than it does at Busch Stadium. So their pitching philosophy is much more exposed on the road than it is at home. So they take care of business at home, and that's great. I applaud it. But if you want to be a really great team, you want to finish in the top 2 seeds in the NL to avoid all the the wild card round and all that stuff, you're going to have to win a lot more damn road games. And one of your problems is you don't strike out enough batters. When you go on the road, you really lose the protection you have at Busch Stadium. It's a totally different ball game.
They need to change it. They need to start. There's no doubt about that. By the way, a texter sent this in, and this is back to the catching conversation you had.
Yep.
When you were talking about pitch framing, he kind of hinted around when or if do we believe that the cameras will be implemented, and so pitch framing won't be an issue anymore.
That's a great point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but I don't have an answer to it, though. That's a great point and a great question. I don't know how soon MLB plans to go ahead with that. It's still in the tryout stages in the minors. Mixed results. They put a spin on it because they want to convince people that it's ready. And I don't know if it is or not. I don't have an informed opinion. But it is coming, but I just don't know when.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting you brought it up. It's like, well, they're worried about pitch framing. That soon, hopefully, it won't be an issue anymore. Just can you call pitches and can you hit the ball? And maybe throw a guy out here or there.
By the way, Cardinals starting pitchers this year, slugging percentage on the road against them, 429, which is a pretty big number in today's age. So 429 on the road, slugging percentage against their starting pitchers. At home, only 355. That gives you an idea of the split, the home-road split.
Yep, that makes sense.
They're much more vulnerable on the road, and if you want to be better than a 500 road team or a game or two above 500, get yourself some strikeout punch. A lot of it. Fewer balls in play, baby. Let's take a break. I thank you all for your patience because I like to just break all this stuff down. Bring the information to kind of explain why I think they need to do certain things. I try to back it up with facts, right? I'm sure some people find it boring. I don't know. It's a pretty hardcore baseball town. So I'm just trying to bring the analysis and the info, and I back it up with facts, but I also back it up with really strong opinions that I have. But I'm always interested in your opinions as well.